Over the past couple of days, we've been hearing more about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom than from Warner Brothers themselves. Like, they aren't doing anything in regards to promotion of this. I think James Wan and Jason Momoa did a sit-down interview for some outlet. I think it was more than likely Variety or The Hollywood Reporter. One of the two. Really doesn't much matter. Jason Momoa, I think he did a stint as SNL host, but outside of that, DC knew exactly what they had on their hands and just kind of threw it back in the toxic lake that it caught it in. Okay, like, that's not entirely fair, because I've listened to a few reviews on it, listened to a couple of people opine on the subject, and outside of the heavy-handed global warming messaging, oh, we used to run our entire society on this one type of fuel, but then it just started to poison everything, and now we're just gonna lock it away. Oh, look at this, the ice was here, and then all of a sudden it started melting. I don't know what happened. Oh, we should revert back to a more holistic way of life. Oh my god, could you leave all the preachy stuff to former vice presidents, okay? Like, if you're gonna get the superhero genre wrong throughout the entire run on the franchise, wouldn't you think, as you're closing up shop, you might end up doing something right? And that is something good I can say about this film, according to the people that have seen it. One character, Patrick Wilson's Orm, seems to be pretty good. Okay, it seems to be a pretty likable guy, a memorable character in that sense, but it apparently isn't enough to drag the film in general out of the doldrums, because you take a look at the more specific ratings. This is Rotten Tomatoes, take it or leave it, right? Normally I would leave it, but it's always funny to just take a look at the discrepancy that you have here. And 36% from all of the critics, 26 from top critics, 78% from all the audience, not too bad. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, from verified audience, and then 65 from all audiences. So yeah, it's not great, but you could also apply that to everything that went down with the DCEU. Better hopes with the next project. But how's it doing with the general public? Because there's a small subsection of people who know what Rotten Tomatoes is. Then there's an even smaller subsection of that unironically uses it, but I would argue that there's probably a little bit larger of a subsection that goes to it for just shits and giggles. But the people that actually turned up to the box office, well, they're still, which kind of throws a wrench into the whole idea that it's superhero fatigue, okay? For everything that everyone was pointing out about the economic prospects of this film, kind of seems like that's going to end up boring out to be true. Well, obviously, we don't have all the information. All we have is the Fridays, and well, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom looks like it's going to end up winning the Christmas long weekend. Got the theaters. Got a decent word of mouth, and it's also got weak ass competition. Okay, what else is going to threaten it? Is there anything else in the action genre that's out there? I'm just still surprised at, how well the Japanese offerings are doing. Boy in the Heron still getting real close to 1 million. Okay, Godzilla -1. Okay, even with reduced theaters, these things are doing incredibly great. Interested by Iron Claw. That sounds like it's pretty good, and actually knowing a thing or two about the Von Erich family, that's something I'd probably catch on physical release. But then you got, Disney's offerings. Okay, so just taking a look at, Family Affair, Migration, Illumination's newest project. I don't know what the production budget behind that is, but 5.8 for its opening Friday. I guess that's the power of the studio when it doesn't have Nintendo affixed to it. But Disney's Christmas offering, Wish, $423,000, bruh. But probably the biggest L that's out there, the only other superhero big bombastic action flick, The Marvels, has its first 5-digit day, $32,000. Dude, now it's down to 220 screens. The last time that we were specifically running the numbers on that stuff, it's 43 days in the cinema. That was the first time at similar fare. All of it. Ant-Man, The Eternals, The Incredible Hulk, all of those previous low watermarks. This is about the point in time where they were hitting their first consistent run of 6-digit outings, mid 6-digit outings. This thing's just an entire disaster, but what you get, man. This is what you get when you start peeing on people's heads, telling it that it's rain. You can get away with it with all the goodwill that you have beforehand, and it's like, knock that off, get that out of here, okay? You can get away with that for a little while, but after this consistent effort, well, you reap what you sow. But I'll be interested, because with the first Aquaman, a lot of the heavy lifting was done in overseas marketing. Pun not intended. $53,000 so far. But to be fair, it's not opening in certain places quite yet. Like Australia doesn't get it until Boxing Day. Most of the other international markets didn't get early releases at all. So we're going to have to wait. We're going to have to wait and see what the international box office does, but there are some projections that are out there. So the 59,000 is only coming in from Finland, and to be fair, what else is there to do in Finland at the time? But the more interesting information that we have pulled up, at least in my opinion, is the Thursday previews. The Thursday previews are important. It's normally a good bellwether as to see how well a film's going to perform in its opening weekend. That's how most of the studios or the trade magazines can go ahead and tell you, okay, it's going to hit between a certain number and a certain number. A couple of weeks ago, we seen for Aquaman, it was going to hit somewhere between 40 and 50 million. And then that ended up getting revised and then revised again and then re-revised, re-revised, and then re-revised, depending on how much Amber Heard people were told was in the film. But now that we have the hard numbers on this, $4.5 million. Huh. That's interesting, okay? Because the $13.7 million Friday is, of course, bolstered by $4.5 million preview, okay? Back when, you used to have, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a point in time where they actually had midnight releases, so the first screening of the film would be 12 midnight on Friday, so you had line up, you had get your tickets. Hell, I went to a few of them. I know for sure, and it could have even been more, okay? The last 3 Harry Potter films, so Deathly Hallows Parts 1 and 2, and The Half-Blood Prince, Pirates of the Caribbean, At World's End, and I think the rest of them escape me, but I specifically remember those 4. And those used to be fun, even though I would say, at least half of those films are really bad. But it still also used to be the magic of the cinema. You would look forward to doing that. It didn't even matter if you ended up rolling out of that thing at 3 in the morning, even if you had classes on Friday or you had to go to work. It was still a big event. But now you don't really have that, okay? You can go check out a flick at 3 o'clock on a Thursday. It kind of robs you of that experience, which is basically all the theaters have to sell. Why do you think they're all moving to that premium format where they got the big luxurious lounges that are there? You've got a la carte menus, you've got drinks that are available, you've got an extensive snack bar. Back in the cut when it used to be a bag of popcorn and maybe some Mike and Ike's. Of course, that's another topic for another day. As a numbers guy, I was looking at this and trying to piece everything together. What are we looking at for this weekend? I've made a bunch of comparisons to other films, okay? Wondering, the big one for me specifically is, what is going to be the drop-off between Aquaman 2 and its billion-dollar predecessor, and the Marvels and its billion-dollar predecessor? So what are we looking at so far? Because this is about the most fun that you're gonna get between either of these films. Because okay, Jason Momoa's a dude bro Aquaman is kind of wearing thin with people. At least you had Orm to look forward to. And with the Marvels, well, we know very well that thing is an entire trash fire that had absolutely nothing going for it, and it's reaping the benefits of it right now. But we also knew very early on, thanks to the preview numbers, that this thing, it was not going to be good. It was going to be hot trash. But if we want to compare it, okay, if we want to compare this to other DC fare that has come out this year, so we got The Flash, okay, so The Flash, the other big budget tentpole, at one point in time, the most expensive film of all time. But we could have also said that about at least 2 other films that have come out this year. Okay, shout out to Indiana Jones. Remember that one came out this year? What a wild year at the box office. All of them flops, but we have the preview numbers on this one, and wow! 9.7 million. 9.7 million. Just a little bit behind with Aquaman. Okay, apparently numbers can't swim. Over twice as much in previews, okay? But what about the most recent DC? You remember? Do you remember Blue Beetle came out? Okay, it was racist if you talked bad about this, even though they had quite possibly the biggest Mexican stereotype you could have possibly put to screen, and I am fully including the old Cheech and Chong movies. That was some absolute trash, and it got treated as such. And so, to buttress the $128 million worldwide box office during its full theatrical run, its preview numbers at 3.3 million, well, Aquaman's not as bad as Blue Beetle. It's a hell of a lot closer to Blue Beetle than The Flash. That's really not good. But how does it stack up against our girls out there? Our girls over there on Marvel. And yeah, okay, it's going to finally cross over the $200 billion, Christ almighty. No, $200 million worldwide box office this weekend. Okay, we see it just made $50,000, so unless they just, didn't throw that on top. 50,000 or 30,000? Nope, 32,000. We need to go ahead and, laugh and correct. Aha. $6.6 million. $6.6 million compared to Aquaman's 4.5. It's going to be close. It's going to be close because you take a look at the projections and oh boy, outside of the opening weekend, it missed everything. And that's the one thing, that is the one thing that Aquaman can go ahead and hang its hat on, is that it's weak competition. Nothing else is really coming out. And that if Warner Brothers wasn't a completely and totally brain-dead company, they've got a triumvirate of films that are going to be out here in very quick succession. You had Wonka from a couple of weeks ago, Aquaman right now, and then The Color Purple, okay? Like there was the Barbenheimer phenomenon over the summer. You could have done something with that, but instead of having the Trident approach, like it's right there. I just came up with that off the top of my head. Bring your family for a wide range of emotions. The good family film with Wonka, the big bombastic action set piece that you're gonna see in The Lost Kingdom, and then I'll feel bad about white privilege with The Color Purple or something like that, because do you think that there's gonna be a Danny Glover type character just going, Seeley! I don't think it's going to be that good anymore. But Aquaman and The Lost Kingdom, swimming towards a $100 million global opening. You know who can't say that? The Marvels, because they had a $42 million opening weekend. Oh boy! Wonka is going to hit $200 million worldwide in the international box office. So, Warner Brothers and DC's Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom began offshore rollout on Wednesday. And the numbers through Friday include a gross $40.9 million in 73 international box office. So, through Friday, it's already done better. Or it's just about to do better. And the Marvels did. Oh boy. This portends the full overseas opening in a $70 million range. The domestic 3 and 4 day, the global start, will top $100 million. Overseas, UK debuted on Thursday with $712,000 on what they have is 11,994 screens. I would imagine it's probably, 1,200 screens. I don't think that you'd have 2,000 dedicated screens in the UK. I could be wrong, but I'm just going to go with, 1,200 seems about right. Ranking in as runner-up behind a strong continued performance from Wonka, which it does serve a different audience, so that kind of makes sense. And it has middling word of mouth. I've heard inoffensive things about it, like, yeah, it's a disaster, but it's not offensively bad, which is better than you can say about a lot of the stuff that's out there. Not anything that you're going to remember, but a safe bet for the family. The number is roughly on par with The Flash and 33% below the original Aquaman. At this point in time, Warner will be more than thankful to try to recoup some of their loss, because at least the reported production budget for Aquaman, let's just go ahead and get this correct, right? They're claiming $205 million, but we know it's north of that. This thing has been shot, reshot, recut, re-edited, pushed back at least a half dozen times. So yeah, at least $200 million. This thing's going to need at least $500 million to break even. But we'll have to wait for the tax filings on that one, because I do believe it's going to be a little bit north of that. But it has no chance of hitting that, because, okay, if it's on par with The Flash ended up raking in $266 million off of the budget that was $300 million. Okay, it says 200, but everything is, like, come on, they undersell this stuff all the goddamn time, and that is not even with marketing. Insiders at DC have claimed that it was the most expensive film of all time. Just ridiculous. Germany also kicked off Thursday, taking in $520,000, 589 screens, and ranking number one. And the result are more than double the opening day of The Flash. Interesting. Oh, I got. Go ahead and make the German cuck jokes all you want, okay? Like I got a good one in the back of my head, but I think that would violate international law if I were to say that one. You know, something crime statistics, something Jason Momoa kind of resembles. Anyways, ahead of the Marvels, 81% ahead. Yo, and 27% to Black Adam. So apparently in Germany, Jason Momoa is a bigger draw than The Rock. Okay, and on par with Ant-Man and the Wasp. Okay, they are 31% below Aquaman. The launch saw 68% coming from 3D. Who is still in 2023 going to a 3D film? That's very strange. Including previews. Okay, the running cum. Does anybody know how to spell or copy edit a deadline? Okay, just go cumulative total. Okay, you're not on a word count. Cum looks dirty. Through Friday is 1.5 million in China, where a lot of the heavy lifting was done for the original Aquaman, by the way. It raked in $23.2 million. Today's portion of that, not including the international total above. Interesting. The film has a 9 on Mayoan versus the 9.3 for the original film. So basically within the same ballpark. Mayoan is projecting the final of $47 million for the full run, which will become increasingly tepid towards Hollywood. Yeah, and it made north of $200 million over in China. But here's the thing about the Chinese box office. You get a pittance of what you end up making over there. So something like... I think it's between 25 and 40% of the box office total is what the studio take is on that one. So basically the entire project of trying to break into the Chinese market was all about getting access to the 1.2 billion people that were over there. But at what cost? You ended up making a whole bunch of insufferable crap that the Chinese public really didn't even bother liking. The top 5 markets for Aquaman 2 through Friday are China, Mexico, Brazil, Indonesia, and France. Meanwhile, WB Village Roadshow's heyday films Wonka crossed the $200 million mark worldwide. So good, okay? Warner Brothers, good on you. You have another $200 million project on your hand. Here's the problem. You're spending at least that much on the production side of things. Not even talk about marketing. But in the grand scheme of things, for as many things as you can tout, oh boy, we used to break records at $200 million. It's something that would stand for a while. I remember when the biggest Hollywood blockbuster, at least the one that was closely associated with it, was Independence Day. But that was a long time ago, and that thing made a lot of money proportionate to its budget. But now, well, Hollywood is quickly finding out in 2023, you keep throwing money at a problem and you don't actually fix the underlying issues, not going to fix anything. In fact, it's going to exacerbate the problem, and it's going to make it a hell of a lot worse. But Warner has learned something about this, okay? Have learned to go ahead and seal up one money pit with the DCEU. They realize that cutting your losses, doing a full reboot is a hell of a lot profitable and possible than trying to fix things on the fly. We'll see if Marvel ends up learning that lesson in the future. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.